Hey guys, got some positive feedback on that last balance rant video thing I did. Apparently, people really like to watch spreadsheet surfing videos on YouTube. I get it, obviously. Charts, graphs, tables, right? Right on. So I'll do it again. We're gonna take a look at these small balance issues and quality of life problems that we've seen for years, literally. And there's not like major things that CIG has to do to fix them, right? Obviously, we're in development. They have a lot of balls in the air. Um, but these are fixes that they could be done in game files relatively quickly. It's not like a major thing that has to be implemented or changed or completely redirect how things are supposed to work. For the most part, these are easy fixes to very large problems, at least if you're a hardcore player and you see these things day after day after day. And obviously, I'm personally someone who plays a lot, but I really also want to encourage new players to get into AC and get into dogfighting. And right now, a lot of them look at it and it's overwhelming and confusing. And then they try it and they get destroyed in seconds, and they just take an indefinite break. So I don't want that to happen. And I think at least we can provide kind of our viewpoint as people that play this game a lot, um, to help not only ourselves but to help kind of the new players and CIG see these things that we see. Um, yeah. So last video I talked about how armor mitigates damage, or rather, how it would if more than 7 ships actually had their armor values filled in. But I don't really know if I went over the armor or excuse me the damage types that much. So let me do that really quick before I get into shields, which is what I want to gripe about today mostly. So we have physical, energy, and distortion damage. Physical is going to be from ballistic weapons that they shoot out a projectile, bullet, round, whatever, that actually hits the ship and does damage. Um, Energy weapons, lasers or plasma or whatever it is going to be, that's kind of energy damage, energy-based weapons. Distortion damage is a little bit different. It doesn't directly damage the hull of the ship, but what it does do is disrupt the pipe system, or at least that's what it's supposed to do. At the moment, the pipe system isn't fully implemented yet. Although you need a cooler or power plant to operate weapons and other components, that having a better cooler is not really going to help you, or having a better power plant, because those things are set individually by the component. So if we look at weapons, this is just a good example. Um, Actually, we can look at the power regen rate. They're throttled in how fast they can regen power. So they're never gonna go past this, regardless of how good of a power plant you have. Now, I know that this is changing with item 2.0, which is hopefully in SC 3.0. So I'm not gonna be too critical of uh, the individual component throttling. That's like a major kind of balance issue thing right now that's causing some problems, but I know that that's a bigger thing that CIG has to work for, and therefore it's not really a small gripe, right? It's not really going to fit into the context of this video. Anyway, back to the damage type. So distortion is supposed to mess with your power, but it doesn't really do that right now. It still damages shields or brings down shields, but in terms of actually being useful right now, I don't think it's at that point. So we don't have to worry about distortion damage that much. So looking at physical damage here, you can see, every weapon per shot is going to put out a certain amount of physical damage. For example, the Tarantula Mark III is nice even 200 damage per shot. Um, so we can use that as kind of an example here. So let's talk about shields. This is the issue that I wanted to get into. You can see that like armor has absorption values, so do shields. If we're looking at the physical absorption for shields, you can see that this is less than half of physical damage, roughly half. And I guess in this case, more than half of damage of ballistic physical damage is being absorbed. So the part that's not being absorbed goes right through the shield and hits whatever it hits on the ship. That could be the hull, that could be components, um, whatever's in the way, a weapon, right? Um, that's a problem right now. Shields in sci-fi, I mean, they've been around for a while. You can look in Star Wars, right? You can look in. There's a major case in Rogue One, which I won't spoil for you, but there's a shield, and they can't just shoot guns through the shield. That's the whole point of the shield, right? This is kind of a good mechanic because you can't overwhelm someone It's a skill-based mechanic, I should say, because you can't overwhelm someone and necessarily kill them if they can evade fire enough to recharge their shields. That's a certain skill that it would take, right? You can buy yourself time and regen the shield and keep taking that damage over and over again. If you could just throw 10 people at them, they're going to wear you down eventually. There's also a certain amount of skill with kind of rearranging shields and picking, the right shield for the job and all that stuff. I'll get into that in a little bit. But shield gameplay is good gameplay. And what this ballistic shield penetration does is take that away. Let's look at something like navigational thrusters, maneuvering thrusters. Take a look at the HP column. So remember that tarantula size 3 did 200 damage per shot. If we go to most shields, it's going to mitigate half of that, right? So 100 damage is still making it through. Coincidentally, most components only have about 100 HP. So if we're looking at a Reliant secondary thruster, for example, excuse me, has 100 hit points. A single shot from a tarantula on your fully shielded Reliant with full HP could take out a thruster in the 1 second, right? And you're essentially spinning in space. You can't stop yourself. You can't strafe out of this. You're done. Effectively done. So imagine you traveled an hour across the system on this trading run, or you're going to go mine somewhere, or you're escorting a ship. Takes an hour, 30 minutes, who knows? You get to your location, or you get jumped by pirates. Blink of an eye, you're out of the fight. I don't think that's the time to kill that that this game should have. Now there's an argument for that. If you look at kind of World War II sims, chase dogfighting, a burst of a cannon or machine gun is going to disable a fighter pretty quickly, and that can have intense, kind of fun action associated with it. But we're talking about a game with permadeath, long respawn times, having to get your ship back, having to replace equipment, having to replace all the cargo you had, right? I think the time to kill that we should be going for is in the minimum 30 seconds to a minute, and if you're in a dogfight. And right now, if you're getting ganged up on, sitting still, and every shot hits your cockpit, you probably will die in 3 seconds or something like that. But most dogfights that I've been into, even in 4v4 situations, break out, you're alive 20 seconds, 30 seconds in that range, and that's good. Now that's what we want. But ballistic shield penetration kind of takes that away from us. We can see the same thing with turrets. Obviously, I've been flying a Hornet, even though I, might want to fly a Gladiator or Saber, whatever. Right now, the Hornet I would say is pretty good for mouse pilots. Check out the canard turret here, and I see a lot of players take these into games. And let's ignore the fact that it has size 1 weapons on it, and that I talked about this last time too. Size 1 weapons are essentially worthless, and not only is in terms of damage and heat overload, but the pip spread, because they're so much faster than the size 2s, is just ridiculous. You wouldn't avoid using size 1s at all costs, right? But let's say they were good, hypothetically. That canard turret that holds the 2 size 1s in front of a Hornet still only has 100 HP. A single shot is going to disable that thing and take away 20% or whatever it is of your firepower right off the bat. I mean, it's if you're looking at a Hornet from the front with a canard turret, the canard turret is a substantial part of that forward cross section. It's gonna take damage. It should be beefy. To fix this, again, up that value from 100 to whatever. It's not like they have to go and redesign the canard turret. They have to change a number. Let's look really quick at the ball turret. Now, this is something that I actually do use. Same situation, 100 HP. That is 40% of my firepower can be lost in a split second. And it often is, because if you look at a Hornet from the top, um, that's a pretty large area. The ball turret takes up a pretty large area. So 40%. I mean, obviously in AC you have these repair things now. That's kind of nice for skilled players because you can, you can't get worn down. But you're not going to have that in the PU, obviously, and that's really what I'm concerned about here is going on an escort mission, or maybe I'm a pirate and I'm attacking someone. And within a second, I lost 40% of my guns. Full HP ship, full shields, it's over. So that's something that has been around for a long time and is just a value that needs to be upped. I mean, I would go so far as to say ballistic shield pen um, just needs to go. Period. Like unless shields are very very heavily damage, they should be letting almost nothing through. That it screws with so many things. It just shouldn't be there. Since we're on shields, let's talk about directionality right now. Bring up something like a, let's see, Hornet. So the Hornet has 4 quadrants, 4 faces where the shield protects it. Front, left, right, and back. The way it works right now, unfortunately, is that a shield is kind of cut like this, and it doesn't matter what direction you're getting hit from. Like for example, this is the rear, rear profile of the Hornet. If I hit over here, if I'm shooting from behind, I feel like all shots should be hitting the rear shield. But instead, you can see large parts of the ship are the left shield and the right shield. Same thing from this angle. I'm mostly in front of the ship, but most of the profile or most of the cross section of the ship is not the front. We're looking at the wings or the back, right? That takes away from the kind of the skilled aspect of shield management. If I'm running away from someone, I would want to put my shield to the rear, right? You would think I would want to do that because most of my, ship is going to be the rear. Or let's say from the front. This actually works better in a Gladius, as an example. I'm coming straight in at you in my Gladius, and you're shooting at me straight ahead. I should be putting my shields forward. But because most of my ship's profile, I mean, even from an angle like this, is going to be covered by the rear shield, I wouldn't do that. Essentially, I would just not touch it, right? Which takes that aspect of the game away. So it's just kind of like, well, don't mess with shields. Just leave them how they are. And that's my advice right now, is because it's not where you're facing, it's where you get hit. The other major problem is shield faces. Bubble would be there's a single sphere around you. Front back is obviously, you're divided in 2. Quadrant is in 4 sections. And then there's supposed to be eventually kind of a 6 piece where you have a, front, back, left, right, top, bottom shield. Now, right now, because of the shield directionality problem, you really only want as much in one single face as you can. So I would say the best size one shield right now is not a quadrant shield. Like having that extra face isn't really going to benefit you. It's in a bubble. It's in the glaive. The glaive is the best shield because I don't care that my right wing is fully shielded and healthy if my nose shield, my front shield is gone and I'm taking damage in my cockpit, right? There's no point to have that quadrant shield. So really, although it seems kind of cool that, oh yeah, I have more shield faces, they're too divided. They're not actually useful that way. So that's kind of a, design decision, not necessarily design decision, but another thing that could be changed easily, but has an effect on what shield you use and what shield is good and which one's bad. I think that's about it for shields. Real quick, I know I talked about missiles and how CIG standardized the missiles and the missile racks in 2.6, and how that was great. I did mention another great thing about that was the naming scheme that they took up. Just to not criticize CIG for a second and give them some praise, like the Viper 3 is a size 3 missile. The the Valkyrie 5, size 5. Same thing for missile racks. A little bit, there's a naming convention here. A 313 missile rack is a size 3 missile rack that has 1 size 3 missile. That's great. Size, a 543 size 5 rack with 4 size 3 missiles on it. And you're probably thinking like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's great. Okay. Let's look at weapons for a second here. The Omni 6 is a size 2 weapon. The GT 870, size 2. NN14, M4A, T19P, C117, none of those even have a 2 anywhere in the name, right? They're all size 2 weapons. Someone's going to say, oh, it's realistic and immersive. If you make weapons in a universe with discrete weapon sizes, and you make, the same weapon type across multiple sizes, you may want to consider putting the size in the name. What would be immersive is, engineers or these companies marketing people not being complete morons and wanting to market their product to the right person so that, the people that want to buy it knows what they're buying. I mean, beyond all of that, this is a game. And CIG shouldn't deliberately be misleading players who want to buy or rent weapons. They get lured into the Voyager Direct store and buy the wrong thing. This happens all the time. Um, where what's even worse is when you buy the right thing and then it changes on you. And when the game's in development, you should expect that to happen. You'll notice that you can melt a ship after you bought it, because what happens if the role of that ship changes, or they have to, for game balance reasons or whatever, modify that ship to a point where that's not what you want anymore. I get it. That's going to happen. Um, but you should be able to exchange when that happens. And you can't for Voyager Direct Store. And it's been like that since it came over well over 2 years ago. You can't melt anything. That's a big failure on their part. And all they have to do is implement the same system for melting that they already have for ships for these components. Excuse me. So long that this has been. I mean, the cynical person would say this is just them trying to rip off and get as much money as possible. I know that's not the case. I know that Turbulent is overwhelmed. But I would put that as a priority over like these small little modifications to the website to show, I don't know, a new concept shift or something. Um, I mean, this kind of just reminds me of LTI and just ship insurance and the whole debacle that has brought up. Um, LTI was supposed to end pretty early on in the campaign, in the development of the game and kind of with this crowdfunding stuff. It was supposed to end in the at November 2013 or December 2013. This was after the first year of the game being around to back. So I was, initial backer. I got LTI on a couple ships, and during that last sale, okay, I'll get some LTI ships. So I did that. That's when I got the Super Hornet. To me, LTI should be something that is on every single ship that is ever sold for cash. It is something, if you buy something with cash, a ship, you should not lose it. This causes so much confusion among players and so much kind of angst or something. I'm afraid of losing my ship that I bought money for. This is ridiculous. What kind of scheme is this? All that stuff comes up because of this problem. Now, as an early backer, LTI was supposed to be the benefit that we got, and you know, it at the time it kind of seemed like a small little perk. Um, okay, fine, but they've kept it around for so long now that it's like this festering wound that they keep bringing back. Like initially, okay, it's gone 2013. Then it comes back for concept sales. Then it comes back for variants. Then it comes back for upgrade kits. Then it comes back for, whatever, these variants that aren't even unique. They just have different weapons on them. Okay, LTI, sure, why not? Everything should just have LTI on it. Okay? I mean, we can make ships, we can still have risk. You can still maybe disable allowing insurance of cargo, for example. What should definitely happen in either case is that you can never insure a stolen ship, so that you just don't have, everyone having a ship within the first year of the game, and any ship they want is dirt cheap because there's just infinite number of ships going around because of insurance problems. But I really don't know why that LTI is such the dramatic mechanic that it is when it could be so easily just given to everyone. But hey, I'm not the one just, selling ships. So I think that'll do it for this one. There's no end of things that CIG could improve on. Hopefully we can, you know, if nothing else, gripe about them. And yeah, so thanks for listening. And probably, as long as people still like them, I'll keep doing them. All right, see you guys.